And good afternoon, alienated parents, alienated grandparents, alienated children, professionals out there worldwide. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Real Talk on parental alienation and the family court matters. Today we have across Canada, the world, global, from the United States to Canada. We hoping to have another guest on from the UK, but I can't seem to locate that one. So I thought this would be an interesting topic worldwide. Today we have Michael Coruso. Is an executive principal at the Young Coruso. He will tell you about his business. He is a 2-year alienated dad in Denver, Colorado. And also we have Theo Chino from Wheaton, Illinois. He is not alienated. He played his cards right in the family court system. So he's here to help us all find solutions on how he did it so we could all do it. And also we have Andy Martens from the Andy Martens Show. Today is my co-host from Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is about 30 minutes from Toronto. So my dad was there before he passed away. I was an alienated daughter as well as an alienated mom. My father lived in Toronto. One of my kids live in Toronto. One of the kids in the Navy and another one in Montreal. So, I mean, this is the pandemic that we're dealing with worldwide. So, welcome, gentlemen. It's great to have you all here on Let's Talk Real Talk. I'm going to start off with, I think, Andy. He could ask questions to Theodore, Chino, and Michael Caruso while I share this podcast to multiple groups out there so they could ask questions and tune in and help us find solutions as well. So thank you and welcome everyone.
All
Andy,
right. You bet. Can you hear me all right, Mary?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not an alienated father, too, but I do this. We've been together with Mary for over 3 years. I do this for Mary Kovacs, and I've been with the same woman for 40 years. But parental alienation has affected my family, too. My wife's sister spoke with her a couple of days ago, and you can't reverse this process after 20 years. Now, her first husband has early onset of Parkinson's, and she's gracious enough to help him when needs help. He has no one to help him. But again, the kids, he's not talking about it. So, anyway, I'm not unscathed. It's in my family. So, Michael in Colorado, you guys have a big election coming up this year in the United States. We're not going to talk politics, but how was I able to be with the same woman for 40 years? And what about your story? How did you get into the situation that you're in now? If you want to start from the beginning.
Yeah, so my wife and I, after a trip to Germany, decided to end the marriage and thought we were going to have an amicable separation. And on a Tuesday in June of 2022, I, with no criminal record, no interactions with the police, military service, 14 years of honorable service, and with an active military security clearance, was served with a TPO. That's a temporary protection order. And it's what's known in the inside circle as what's called the silver bullet. Because they rubber stamp these, they don't do any they violate constitutional rights. They don't do any due process. They immediately strip you of your right to bear arms. They immediately strip you of your right to your property or your right to raise your child without government interference. And then they set a court date, 14 days. And in Colorado law, which violates the Constitution of the United States, it is on the onus of the accused to prove that they're innocent. So standard allegations in family court in the United States is you accuse the targeted parent as they have drinking problems, they have drug problems, and they have mental health issues, which automatically puts that person on the defensive. And a lot of times they're ill-advised by their attorneys because it's more advantageous for the attorney of the targeted parent if that TPO turns into what's called a PPO, a permanent protection order. So you have a hearing where you have to defend yourself of allegations, whether they're false or not. And more times than not, the judge will err on the side of caution and say, well, I'm always going to believe the victim. And now you're homeless, you're cut off from your child, you have to turn in any weapons you have, or you're not allowed to own a firearm, and you now have to pay for drug, alcohol testing, and mental health, almost as if you've already been convicted of a DUI without ever committing a criminal act. And so I went 95 days without seeing my son, and they used every technicality they could to keep me from him, because what the opposing counsel wants is for the targeted parent to explode, right? They want to destabilize the targeting parent so that they can give them anything they can to file more motions, have more temporary hearings to fill their calendar. And so I was able to get back into my son's life with 4 hours a week of supervised visitations. I had to take SoberLinks. I have a SoberLink device that cost me $175 a month, therapy that cost me $600 a month, and I have drug tests that's like $250 a month. So this would have bankrupted most people and put them financially out of parenthood. And almost 2 years later, I finally got I had to ask, so I filed a motion to reconsider. The judge declined it, in which I presented two drug tests that showed that I had never taken any illegal substance. Plus I submitted my military records of 14 years, which had over 400 drug tests. I was cross-assigned into SEAL Team 17, so I had a security clearance that was renewed with them. Judge didn't care, ruled against me. Then I filed a motion to amend. Judge ruled against me. Motion to compel my wife to let me see my son. He ruled against me. I finally just had to, and then I had a PRE. That's called, the court required me to pay a PRE $10,000. His name is Dr. Lon Kopit, because I want to get a little slam on this guy. Terrible reviews online. My attorney told me, this is our guy. He's the most dad-friendly guy. Long story short, he made numerous inappropriate comments about my physique and my looks and the way I dress. And he essentially, I ignored his compliments, or he would touch me in a weird way, touch my back, touch my knee, just weird. Like when he was a little short guy, when he'd shake his hand, he'd reach up to squeeze my arm because I work out. And he was always complimenting. He's a very small, tiny, petite guy, always complimenting on my muscles and my physique. And long story short, when he wrote a report, I sent him 33 emails with supporting data, drug tests, alcohol tests, my therapy notes, a letter from my therapist saying this is parental alienation, this is mental and emotional abuse to both father and child. If you have any questions, reach out. Mr. Coruso, I even gave him my testosterone replacement therapy provider, my blood tests, the fact that I had a high hemoglobin account, which accounted for some anxiety, but now I was donating blood. Long story short, tons of supporting data that would have painted me in a very good light, including my son had a 6-figure college fund, which I had funded exclusively. I was putting $1,000 and $44 into a whole life insurance policy, so my son would be set up for life when he turned 18. He left all of that out there and wrote he's a registered Democrat. I'm not getting political, but he's very alt-left, and he wrote things he accused me of being an anti-vaxxer, which in the military, you don't get to have a stance on vaccinations. You just take the shots they tell you. So he had access to my military records. He tried to paint me as an anti-vaxxer, pointed out that my wife doesn't exercise, eats poorly, and is overweight and has hip problems. So he said I was fat shaming. And then just went on to say other things that were completely inaccurate. Long story short, my attorney and I have filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against that PRE, but that PRE report cost me a year with my son. And when the PRE testified in the temporary orders hearing, which took place April of this year, the judge found him to be overtly biased, that he contradicted his own report, and it made no sense to the judge. He said, why make all these recommendations and have this guy go above and beyond and then say nothing should change? He said, I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't believe in stagnation. That judge removed all of the restrictions. And this judge, Judge Long, is a very pro-military. He teaches the sapper training for the Air Force Reserves and Air Force active duty in Colorado Springs, whereas Judge Figa is a woke alt-left bigot. I mean, he drafted LGBT community laws while working for the governor. So he's just not pro-military, not pro-dad. Some of these cases, it's whatever judge you get, right? Some of them have a bias one way or another against the sex, which there are no laws, none. I've done a ton of research that is gender specific in family court. So these judges shouldn't have any bias, but they do. But I now have 9 hours of unsupervised visit with my son. But the damage that has been done to him, Ren Michael Coruso, that's my son, he now requires a stomach surgery because of the stress that this caused him. He's fallen behind in school where we have to hire a tutor for him. He's a very bright boy. He's doing very well in baseball. He's made leaps and bounds improvement since I've gotten unsupervised visit. But the cost, I mean, for me, and opposing counsel made a very insulting remark during the hearing, said, look at how Mr. Coruso is acting during this ordeal. There are worse things in life. I served four deployments for this country, Afghanistan, Iraq, combat tours. I have what's called a CAR, Combat Action Ribbon. I would rather go fight in a war than go through what's done in family court. This is way worse. I've had night sweats, nightmares, literally seeing people in my room, like just someone coming at me because of the trauma. And I've been diagnosed with unspecified trauma. I have very short attention span. It's very difficult for me to focus on things. I'm on antidepressants and sleeping pills now. And that's the psychological damage. The financial damage has cost me about $350K and running. And I did the math. It comes out to basically $1,000 an hour. And I have emailed every single representative in Colorado. Not one of them, not one, not Republican, not Democrat, has reached out to me.
Well, I think Colorado's a blue state, Michael. And
No, but there are Republicans and Democrats. So there are Republicans and Democrat representatives. What I'm saying is, if our children are not the most important thing in our life, what the hell are we doing any of this for? And not one single representative has reached out to me. And I used Meta AI to tailor the message to the Republicans and the Democrats to appeal to the things that they would appeal to. Not one single representative reached out. I filed a judicial complaint citing the laws that were broken. Without me committing a single criminal act, I lost my child, my home, and my ability to protect my family. And nobody saw a single problem with that. Not one person.
Not even Lauren Brobert, eh? Wow.
No, I reached out to all the media. Not one person responded. I reached out to the governor. No response. I mean, I even sent pictures of my child and showed the screenshot. I had to liquidate his college fund. He had $125K in his college fund, a 6-year-old boy, and not one person gave a solitary concern to reach out. Not one single person. That's how you know it's corruption by design, because they get these complaints all the time, and it's all about money. That's all they care about. They don't care about your children. They don't care about child safety. I know of another gentleman, which I'll probably bring him to your podcast, that Child Protective Services served him with a restraining order. Police showed up. They said, we're taking your son away because we have accusations that you have been drugging him with methamphetamines. The kid said, no way, my dad's never done this. My mom's crazy. She lies. I'm afraid of her. They took him away. They took a hair follicle test from this child. Test came back negative. Child Protective Services buried that toxicology report and then pivoted to parental alienation. And he went, I want to say, 90 days without seeing his child. Our cases are very similar. There's a documentary called, and I'll end it with this, Take Care of Maya.
Yes.
Where the hospital, that was all about money, just putting someone's butt in a hospital bed so they could milk the insurance company. And the mother and the father were just acceptable collateral damage for profit. This whole thing is, as Theo, I'm going to steal his thunder, and then I am going to end. Family court is just an improv theater. Everyone's playing a role. And
yes,
so you
money.
One person gets cast as the targeted parent, and the other person is the unstable parent that alienates the parent and the child, because the real victim is the child. It's
Yes.
We're adults, we can take a lot, but a child, that's traumatic. So I hope I answered your question of how I got
All right,
in the
yeah, we
family
got to
court
get to
maze.
Theo, and we'll let Mary Kovacs do that. Mary Ald Kovacs, I ask Theo some questions.
Hi, Theo.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us how you got into this situation. I mean, you have a better outcome than most of us.
Well, and it not without a price, and that's kind of where I'm pivoting and focusing on now, because the way your extreme liberals feel about guns is the way I feel about divorce lawyers. I think they should be confiscated, put away. No one should have access to destructive devices like that, because divorce lawyers are really just there to destroy and harm. They're not really there to protect, right? So I'd say we just take everyone who's been associated with the family court system, let's lock them all up, and then we'll get to them when we can, because I'm sure some of them are innocent, and we'll just get around to them when we can, and we'll unlock them if they should be unlocked. But they are associated with a criminal organization. This is, here in America, we have the RICO statutes, racketeering, intimidation, criminal organization statutes. The family court, and I'm doing air quotes here, I love how they name themselves that. It's really the anti-family court. They are a racketeering organization. It's not a constitutional court. Most of the judges are appointed, not even elected. And you look at it from top down, here in America, we have what's called Title 4D. Title 4D is where every time a judge in family court orders child support, another child support, right, to be paid, here in Illinois, every $3 of child support that's supposed to be collected, they get to send a distress signal, and they get to borrow $2 for every $3 they're collecting from everyone's Social Security pensions here. And that money goes to feed, wait for it, the judges' pensions. They are all part of the bar mob. You talk about conflict of interest. It's impossible to have any kind of actual separation. When you're going to someone from the bar mob for representation, you have basically surrendered all of your rights. You've handed your family over to a bunch of people that I'm going to say it again. They should all be locked up and thoroughly investigated. And when we get to them, we get to them. Maybe some of them should be released. And we should just say, sorry, just like they do to alienated parents, right? They take
Absolutely.
They take your kids and they put them at great risk by limiting them to just one parent who may be the right parent. But I think I would do better blindfolded in front of a roulette table, picking which parent should be the only parent allowed alone with the children 100% of the time. I think just random roulette table would be better than what family court does, because we all met thanks to Susan Bossi's reporting that she puts on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
And Michael Coruso and I met because of a very extreme case. I'm going to mention this poor father's name, may he rest in peace, Pedro Argote. We saw that story, and it was horrific for everyone involved in and touched in that story. And what we're finding more and more was Pedro had no legal recourse after being typecast as the targeted parent. And then Pedro may have been quite a bit unstable, or maybe not. He went to his only recourse, which I highly recommend against. What we're trying to do here is we're pointing at young Coruso. We do basically we go into companies and places and we do cost reduction analysis. And so what we found is Michael Coruso's family got tagged for we're coming up on close to over $500,000 for sure. My family got nailed for over $500,000 and counting 6 years in. And I'm not going to talk about my ex and how good of a parent she is or isn't. That is immaterial at this point, because if we're talking about someone being a threat to the children being unsafe around somebody, I'm going to say that anyone from the family court system is far worse than the absolute worst, most dangerous, crazy parent in the world. These people in this family court mafia, this family court mob, are, you talk about it, criminals, drug addicts, child abusers. They're the worst of the worst. They're the most unstable people in the world. And I got to see it up close, firsthand, when I was court ordered to bring my children into a law office that later on I had found had hired a Class X felon who had committed a disgusting act that he pled guilty to, admitted to doing, against a minor under 13 years of age. Think about this. Was I warned that I would be bringing my children into an office where someone who was arrested at the time, arrested for a Class X felony, would be working possibly? No, I was not. And why? Because he was part of the bar mob. You see, and that person, who I believe through my research was allowed to act as a GAL, a guardian ad litem, would receive 1,000% more respect from this family court judge than I would as a father. And what is wrong with this picture? Where a complete stranger who is a child abuser is given 100,000% respect and trust over the futures of these children. Parents are court ordered to allow people like this to be alone in an office with these children. Tell me, what bizarre world is this okay? So what we found is, through discovery, I had a very good lawyer help me out, and he went against his bar mob associates. He started looking into these bills. He's like, why in the world would a firm that represented you for 6 months charge you over $85,000? And when he started looking at those bills, guess what happened? Whoopsie, we found lots and lots of mistakes and actual out and out fraud. And through just a quick analysis, he saved me over $25,000. He went against his bar mob associates, and he was chastised by them. They actually told him, how could you be doing this to one of your own? And that's when the light bulb went on, and I said, wait a minute. Michael Coruso and I met, and we started talking about the movie The Firm. And if you remember the very end of the movie, how did they get the bad guys? Through their bills. I said, let me go back and look at these bills. And Michael Coruso's company just so happens to look at invoices and bills, right, Michael?
Yes, sir.
And when they looked through these bills, wow, what did we find? We have certified fraud investigators. We have auditors who know how to look for things. And we found an average of between 20 and 30% overbilling. If you do the math on Michael's case and mine and then yours, think about how much money was out and out fraudulently stolen, robbed from, I'm not even going to say me, from my children. How much money was stolen from your children, from Michael's children, by these people who are anything but holy? They are evil, horrible, rotten people.
My home was priority over my children in the court. Imagine. They didn't care about the children. You get to keep the house and kids. Why wasn't it the kids and the house? Why didn't, the way they word these court orders, like, come on. How about you get to keep the kids in that house until it sells, instead of you keep the house and kids and don't pay support until the house sells?
Well, there you go. And so what it's all designed to do is, The family court process, they say the family court's broken. No, it's not. It works perfectly for the people that designed it, right?
Yes.
It is in the best interest of the children, not our children. It's in the best interest of their children, right?
Yes.
So that their children can go to fancy private schools and they don't have to go to school with our damaged, destroyed families' children, so that their children could drive around in Mercedes SUVs and all kinds of other things where they can feel superior and above other people and continue on the family business of preying on people that are less powerful and less connected to them.
Exactly. That is what my kids are right now. They're in their 30s after 18 years alienated. It'll be 19 this December. I was the silver bullet as well. I was falsely arrested, went to prison twice, never to see my kids. Only saw them through the court system, and each time I saw them, they were more damaged and more damaged. Why? It's because that lawyer pushed them for 18 years. What was he doing in the office with my two teenage girls and my son? My son is now in the dark web. Where is he getting all this, stuff, these addictions? It's because they were forced in the courtroom behind the closed doors in the lawyers' offices. And I caught them on Zoom badgering my kids on the Zoom trial. So now you can see, put everything together for 19 years, how they corrupted my poor children. My son is in the Navy. How is he supposed to recruit your son or your daughter in the next so many years once he's been exposed on social media doing these inhuman acts to himself? It's no different than a child cutting themselves or a child doing drugs, alcohol. These addictions are deep down rooted, scary, evil, right? So they're forming them into psychopaths.
Right.
This
So,
is what's
Mary,
happening to our young children. I've been watching it for 19 years. It's horrible.
So we've clearly established that these family court judges, these officers of the court, and all these other imposters are not superheroes. They're not going to come flying out of their robe or their cape to save a baby being thrown out of a building.
No.
They've never once stopped a bad family situation that was going to happen, regardless of whether or not they were in the picture. And in fact, they go in there and they just make the situation, they magnify the bad, they minimize and hide the good, and they're just there to destroy, to shake money out of, again, they're juice squeezers, right? And what they do is, Michael, what's the first thing? If you and I were opposing counsels on a custody case, we wouldn't even have to come out and say it, right? Hey, did you see that financial affidavit? Wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge, and here we go. We know exactly where
the
to
play
take it.
is based on the budget, even though no one knows that they have a budget. They determine your budget based on my ex-wife is a attorney and a partner in her firm. And she knows, she should have known better, but that's exactly what they did. They looked at our income and our assets and said, oh, this will be highly lucrative if we make this as contentious as possible. Such to the point when my attorney reached out and said, hey, can we waive the drug testing because he tested negative on these 2 tests? No, results are questionable. Well, you didn't question the results when we gave them to you and you let me be around my son. Why are they questions? So it's like, let's just fight over that, because think how many billable hours you lose if you can't make me send my drug test to my attorney, and then my attorney sends it to your attorney, and then your attorney sends it to the spouse. So it's like, look how much money you'd be losing every month by letting that concession go. So there's no incentive for them to be reasonable.
There is none.
Right. So, and we've clearly established again these superior beings, because they've just kind of labeled themselves as such, right? That have immunity, by the way. Why in the world would a guardian ad litem or a PRE in Colorado or a family court judge need immunity? Why in the world would anybody need immunity? Now,
Exactly.
you know what? I would like to tell them, okay, all right. So here's the concept of family court. I get it, right? This is what they advertise themselves as. Hey, you guys can't figure your problems out. You guys are a mess. You know what? Come to us here. We're professionals. We're adults. We're going to help you solve your problems in a very orderly, legal, organized, calm manner, right? And we're going to save you all from driving off the cliff, right? That is the fake commercial. That's the false advertising for family court.
Yep.
When in fact, these people are horribly incompetent in their own personal lives. The more you dig into anyone that works in that court system for any extended amount of time, these people are extremely damaged people from their souls, from their minds, and usually in their bodies too. They have addictions, they engage in criminal activities. It is rare to find someone who works in that realm for an extended period of time who is not extremely damaged. They're the last people you would want to bring your kids around.
That's right.
And then you're going to them and you're paying them hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to solve your family's problems when they can't even solve their own, when they are a complete mess themselves.
They're worse than you.
Way worse. Again, I would take the worst, most unstable parent. I mean, look at the animal kingdom. You have animals that would just tear another creature up into pieces and gobble them down in seconds. And when it comes to protecting their young, they have that instinct to protect their young. You could take the most messed up parent and put them up against the best, least messed up family court person. And I would still trust the messed up parent to protect their child more than that family court person, just for one fact and one fact alone. Because I'm also a Brazilian jiu-jitsu professor. I see talented people come and go all the time. But the people who stick around and are in it, those are the people who get good and figure out what to do and what not to do. All the parent needs is time with their child.
Right.
All the child needs is time with their parent. You know, if their parent's a horrible, rotten person, this is not all bad that this child gets to know that parent very well. If the parent is a good person but has flaws, again, this is not a bad thing that this child has time with that parent. But take a complete stranger who's part of a criminal mob and place them on top of
Your parent.
the parent. This is unacceptable. And then we have exposed their criminal activities. They are engaging in fraudulent activities. Quick example. I went through the guardian ad litem bill on my case, and I saw a name on there that had nothing at all to do with our case. And I Googled that name, and I found out this person is not only an attorney, but running for the county board in our county. Contacted this person, and I said, hey, do you have any idea why your name showed up on this bill for my children? They said, I have no idea at all. I said, is there any reason at all why you would be mentioned in this bill and be given just $65 for involvement in this case? No. Do you know this guardian ad litem? Oh, yeah, they're a great friend of mine. I'm like, I bet. And they said, well, maybe it was a glitch. I'm like, I wonder how many more times this glitch happened. You see, it's not bad enough that they have to charge ridiculous rates for their false advertising of inferior, actually damaging services they offer. They also have to bill you fraudulently and charge you so that they can buy favors with their buddy who's running in the county board elections. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So what Michael Coruso and I have found is, you know what, I've heard it all. Move on with your life. Let it go, right? Well, as you know, the moment you become a parent, even after you're dead probably, you'll never not be a parent, okay? And it never stops. There is no moving on when you become a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who is a real parent would know that that is true. There is no moving on. Why can't you get over this? It's like, well, that's the problem. You see, too many people walked away and struggled and scraped and somehow climbed out of the slime hole that these people shove you down and walked away, letting these people get stronger, greedier, and more powerful. LMS, Legal Management Services, Young Coruso, is empowering parents, targeted parents and non-targeted parents alike, and children of targeted and non-targeted parents who have been scammed by the family court mob. We're empowering them to fight back against this mob, to get their money back, and to expose the criminal corruption that's going on in this faux improv theater court system, complete with ushers with guns, right? And we are fighting back. We're chipping away. We're going to just slow them down, and we are going to, and I'm going to steal Michael Coruso's best line ever, marginally disrupt the family court system. When they have to take 5 minutes on a phone call to answer questions about a bill from 10 years ago, oh, I bet you that grinds their gears. And they have to do it. And if they don't do it, that's okay. We'll see them in court, and we'll challenge every single thing on that bill from 10 years ago in Illinois. So you need to look up the statutes in the area you live in and go from there. But fraud is fraud. Right. And when you become aware of it, I think that's possibly when you can make the legal argument that the clock starts ticking. Again, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. You should not listen to one single piece of advice I'm giving you. No, don't do it, right? But maybe I'll make you think just a little bit about your own case and think about what you can do. Maybe I'm just like a good pool table. Maybe I'm knocking some balls loose in a different way where you get a better shot from your angle. But what we've discovered is this. We are making them go back and answer questions on old bills from years ago. You know what they're not doing? They're not suckering in their next victim with their next retainer, because for them, it's like sharks. And they're just sniffing for blood in the water, and them and their little pilot fish, they and their little pilot fish are just swimming towards where they feel there's a wounded creature in the ocean. And Michael Coruso, just take it away with the shark analogy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exactly that. It's like they're just swimming through the ocean, waiting for a drop of blood, and then moving in on their prey, right? Most sharks actually look for wounded prey, not strong and able prey. And that's the same thing. There's a drop of blood miles away, they're going to detect it, and they're going to move in, and they're going to feast on it until there's nothing left. And they're even willing to eat their own, right? If one of them gets injured, it's just, it's unbelievable. It's like Theo's best line was, the family court system is not broke. It is a well-oiled meat grinding machine that does exactly what it's intended to do. And the judges know it. And that's the worst part of it, is that they're not calling anything out. They're just playing along, keeping their docket full and knowing that it's all pre-scripted, and they don't even need to pay attention to the details, because at the end of the day, I mean, I was lucky. I got Judge Long, and he seems actually to be a competent and fair judge that cites laws, whereas the other judge, I didn't hear one law cited, not one single time. It was just kind of like woke ideology playing out in the courtroom is what it really felt like. But, you know, that's kind of where we're at. Like Theo said, shouldn't listen to anything we say, no advice. However, if you do listen to something and you do think that you are overcharged, you know, you can reach out to Young Coruso and we can perform an audit.
Yeah. You know, when I tried to educate the judge 18 years ago, he was a criminal judge who came in just to do my case. And when his lawyer walked in, my ex's lawyer walked in, he said the judge and him had dinner, a Christmas dinner last night, Christmas party dinner. No, sorry, a family Christmas party dinner.
That
and
seems like a conflict.
Yeah, and they talked about the case, so it's going to be a fast and easy one because we all know who's going to win, the father, just like that. And I thought, you son of a bitch, how dare you say something like that? So when the judge came in, everything this lawyer said, boom, that's what the lawyer did. A week later, this judge was promoted to supernumerary judge into Kitchener, Ontario, which is about 40 minutes from London, Ontario. Like all in a week.
And Mary, you know what? I don't want to lose this one. What did the judge tell you? He said, sorry, but you're going to get treated like
a man. No, he said, sorry, ma'am, you got treated like a man at the end of it all. And then my ex-husband backed up, threw himself against the wall, like those, what do you call those Velcro things? And you stick to it. And made himself look like I was going to attack him. And I just walked by him. I was disabled, walking with a cane. And I'm thinking, how dare you? What are you? Is the judge telling me that you're a pussy, basically? I hate to say that word, because there are women out there that are suffering like me through men who do this to protect themselves because they are the real abusers. I mean, women are abusers. I was raised with 7 brothers. I know what they've gone through to lose their kids as well. Women can be evil, but men can be evil as well. So when the judge said that, I thought, okay, why are you telling me that I got treated like a man? What are you doing to men out there to hate women? Because I was married to a woman hater. And this is what he did, because he was taken from his father at a young age. He was 9 months old, never to have a father. The family courts took his dad. And then his dad took his life at 20 when we were 25, when we found him. So now he got so messed up. So you got to go back generations to see where all this is coming from, because it's the upbringing on the alienating parent who has used the kid.
There's a direct correlation, at least in our country, to family court and active shooters. That most of the children, I think I've read somewhere, there's a statistic that the median age of an active shooter is under the age of 16. Most of them are children that have gone through family court. So they're so traumatized. And I mean, the shooter in Maine, same thing. He's got the little bullet point that says divorce. It's like, no, it should say family court, because he went through, not justifying what he did. As Theo said, we're absolutely against that. But the real issue is not necessarily guns. It's what's going on. What happened to that person that got him to that point? Because it's not like every one of us walks by a gun store and says, oh, I'd like to become an active shooter. No, something has to happen for somebody to really get to that point. And most of the profile of active shooters are they're injustice collectors, but we would all probably agree we've had some real injustice done to us. And as I said, I've reached out to every representative, every government agency I can think of, the governor, saying, hey, I didn't commit a single crime. I'm a valued contributor to society. I build and I protect. I was in the military, and now I work in a design company that builds and provides. Why, without breaking a single law, would I have lost my child, my home, and my right to protect my family? And none of you find anything wrong with that. That is disturbing. That's like communist Russia during the revolution.
Yeah, I'm with you, Michael. It was like the Nazis came and ripped my kids out of my arms. I was ex-military police security.
I saw that. Yeah, so you're okay to protect your country, but not your children.
But I can't protect my own kids. Are you for real? So when the police ripped me from my kids' arms and took me to jail, and I says, what about him? Why aren't you taking him? Look at him. I said, he's an ex-military. I said, he was a middle linebacker, and I'm in a wheelchair, and you won't even let me take it? You know, they literally dragged me out of my kids' arms. They were 15, 17, and 18, but the 17 wasn't there because the father took her to use her to say, yeah, I heard my mom utter a threat. You know, and I'm thinking, wow, that's desperation. Because, you know, why the other 18-year-old heard nothing, and they're in the room next to each other. One hears it, the other one doesn't. No, it's because he took her to the mall. He bought her off to say whatever to protect them. And even the judge knew that. He saw that he was hiding behind his kids. But still, I got condemned, even though I was proven innocent. You know, I've got a certificate here by the police that there was no evidence. It never happened. but yet I'm still condemned. And that's wrong. There's so many innocent people in prison. My own brother that got murdered, he got murdered by 3 people in the family, a girlfriend, but the 2 were an uncle and a nephew. And their excuse was they were alienated from their family, from their fathers. They had no father, and this is why they turned out so bad. So the judge in the trial, at the end, he looked at me and he said, sorry, Mary, but I don't believe in parent alienation, and I do want to see his 10-year-old son visit him while he's been incarcerated in Kingston. And I just I choked because he knew I was alienated from my kids already for 9 years at the time. So, they do know what's going on. So Theo, are you still there? But, Michael, so what's your process now? What are you doing to rectify all this?
Yeah, it's a good question. We had our permanent hearing last month, and we're waiting on the judge to issue orders of a step-up plan. So one of the analogies I've used is this is like a horse race, right? You start out, you run as fast as you can around the track, and then you end up back where you already started. If the horse had any, self-awareness, it'd be like, what did I just do to myself there, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like I'll land somewhere around 50-50 custody, some sort of percentage that'll make sense. But, they got their money out of me. And then we still have another hearing to go over our finances, which to me at this point, if I was using a war analogy, it's like the Battle of Stalingrad, right? The city's just rubble at this point. What is there to fight over, right? But, the unstable parent continues to be unstable, and it just is what it is. It's like nobody wins in a divorce. It's lose-lose. It's just to what extent that loss is accounted for. But so that's where I'm at. I'm optimistically hopeful, and Theo's been one thing I would recommend anyone listening to the show. This piece of advice I would give: find other people who've been through it, going through it, and talk to them, because talking to other people is really been Theo and I always joke, for the purposes of the book, and then we talk about things that we're working on. But it's been great. I mean, Theo and I disturbingly probably talk at least an hour a day, every single day. But it is helpful. So I have another gentleman who I referenced in the Child Protective Services that I have on a weekly call. But especially men, talk to people. Find people who've been through it and talk to them, because that is better than checking out, if you know what I mean. There's a direct correlation also with suicide in family court, but talking to other people definitely helps you.
Yeah, and so I'll leave you with this too, because we all, and I've had this thrown in my face many times. Well, you decided to marry her, you decided to have kids with her, right? And it's like, yeah, you know what? There is this fallacy that there's some perfect marriage or perfect family out there. This is probably a huge source, like the inception of all of these problems to begin with, right? And then the other problem is the gender wars, right? The fake gender wars. Oh, family court's horrible to men. And then now I'm starting to hear more and more women come out and complain about how badly they were treated in family court. And I'm like, wait a minute, because I almost got sucked into this gender war thing. Yeah, they hate men. No. Hang on a second here. Let me see what's really going on here. It's like, it's almost as if they know who the more stable parent is, and it's like they're trying to murder that parent because that parent is in the way of what they want to do, which is destroy your family.
100%.
You're the last line of defense if you're the stable parent. 2 stable parents, we can't have that. We need to break those 2 up somehow, right? And this is why you have all these other societal things going on, right? There's so many forces trying to break up 2 stable parents. If you have 1 stable parent, you just need to get them out of the way, and then you can be that wolf that just gobbles up those little lambs, right? And so that's the whole deal right there. And then you look and you say, your case, Michael's case, my case, there was an awful lot of money made by certain players in this scenario. And furthermore, if you dig in deeper, I bet that, and I know that I was coached by lawyers I paid to lie and say horrible things about the mother of my children. And I looked straight at the person I was paying $450 an hour, and I said, but that's not true. And he said, trust me, just do what I say. I know what I'm doing. And I looked at him and I go, yeah, I really think you do know what you're doing. And what he was trying to do was stir up an unbelievable amount of trouble so that there would be no chance of reconciliation. Because when they looked at my case, my kids were fine. My ex, compared to most wives out there, was fine. No issues here. There was no criminal activity, no drugs, no beating, no cheating, nothing wild going on. The biggest, most scary thing was, oh my goodness, what if these two wake up and realize that they don't really have really big problems with each other? What's going to happen to us? Our bills are going to shrink down to nothing. So I was encouraged to lie and to engage in alienating behaviors against my soon-to-be ex by my lawyer. And his name will come out because there will be a lawsuit coming out against that person soon. I observed in the office anti-Semitic comments being made and other racial comments being made, like racist comments being made. We had a guardian ad litem make racist comments against comments against a certain religion, which I'll keep generic right now. We had a guardian ad litem on the court record make overtly discriminatory comments on the record against, in this case, my family, because she needed to come up with some kind of reason why she felt one parent should have everything and the other should have nothing, right? But all they're doing is, and Leon Koziel, if you haven't read his book, A Whistleblower in Paris, he passed away last November. He was the targeted parent. He was an alienated parent. He was a lawyer. He was a warrior. And he was not able to see his children, and his grown children, his daughters, were alienated from him. It killed him every major holiday. I used to call him and check on him. He passed away last November. He wrote a book called Whistleblower in Paris, and he said, it's just like the Roman Colosseum. They throw you in there for entertainment, and they're making money off of this. And you two, the two people that got together and made children together, they pit you against each other, just like in the Jerry Springer show, and everybody's just laughing, and they're making money off of all this. And so what we found is a way to expose the, at best, sloppy and incompetent work of people that work in the family court realm. And they can get away with it because their clients are so emotionally traumatized, they would be the last people to ever wake up and see what they're doing to them. Mm-hmm. And at worst, this is an highly organized, highly effective criminal ring. And I think there are different layers to this. There are the players in this faux improv family court that really think this is real, even though they're part of the play, including the parents. But also some lawyers don't even know. Go ahead, Michael.
So you prompted me to Google whistleblower in Paris, and I don't know all the details, but they were talking about Alec Baldwin published a book in 2008 regarding everything we're talking about. And then he went on some talk show to talk about it. But almost immediately, he abandoned his campaign, which was a little concerning, like what happened? Because almost instantly, he abandoned the thing that he knew was so bad. He'd gone through it 7 or 8 years. It's a little disturbing. So I encourage listeners to go look for that YouTube video and Alec Baldwin, and I'll check out this whistleblower in Paris. Can you talk more about that, Theo? I'm just curious what it is.
Yeah, no, and well, the thought I'd like to leave everybody with, because we're coming up on the hour mark here, is think about if
we
you
can have
heard
you come back and do a part 2.
Sure, yeah, because we'd like to give you updates on how LMS, Legal Management Services, and Young Coruso is doing. Also, there's another business that I'm partnering with that does not want to be named yet, but coming soon, something interesting on the front end to help people going through it, like about to go through it, and while they're in the middle of it. We're kind of just dealing with people after the destruction of Troy, right? Just looking for survivors, right? But I'd like to leave with this analogy. What if you found out that there was a group of people out there who dressed up like paramedics, who drove around in an ambulance looking for people, for families in car wrecks, and they would pull over and act like they were there to help them. But what they would do is rob them and beat them up and leave them for dead in the road. What would you think should be done to these people?
Wow.
Right?
You know,
and
yeah.
that is the family court mob. I mean, again, some of them don't even know that they're participating in this very corrupt, very evil, very profitable system. But most of them, if they've been in for more than a few years, they know what they're a part of, and it's a criminal organization.
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's right. That's why I highly recommend for people not to go into the court system. If you could do it amicable, I mean, I think it's in Sweden where they had, you just take a piece of paper to a lawyer. If you both can make a parenting plan, you know, visiting time, whatever. And
I would say
even
if you can't do it amicably, you're better off not going to family court. It's
yes.
Settling it contentiously amongst yourselves.
Exactly.
You'll come out way better.
Exactly. You're going to have pockets dangling with all your hard-earned cash that you saved over those decades or, you know, years, whatever, and put it into the children instead of, like, put it into children so they'd be happy instead of putting them into therapist pockets after the children have been damaged. Because this is what's going to happen to you. It's horrifying. But
in my case, the money that they robbed from my family, because my ex is no better off. You know, all the stuff that her scummy attorney promised her, most of that did not happen. And he was squawking and screaming and acting like he knew this was going to happen. And they even had the guardian ad litem on their side, and it still didn't happen because I had a new judge, who was, I guess, not totally aware that this is all a big scam and it's just kind of designed to milk people. And she actually tried to do a good job. She didn't do a great job, but she tried. And so at the end of the day, my ex is definitely no better off. Neither am I. And I think the money we spent, it's like, hey, kids, would you want to ride ponies to school every day? Would you want helicopter rides to school? Would you want helicopters to pick you and the ponies up from school? I could have paid for all of that. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of giving money to these vampires, to these mob rats.
Right. When I got brought back to the trial, the first thing the judge said that if this trial was going to cost $175,000 to the loser, I want you to decide now whether you're going. This was 2019. I want you to decide today whether you want to go ahead or not. But remember, one of you will pay. 2022, the ex's lawyer couldn't lift his head as he had to sign the endorsement because they had to pay. He promised my ex-husband all this. He promised the children. He brought the adult children to sue me for hundreds of thousands. You know what? They got nothing. They got nothing. And who made the money? Zoom trial, $175,000? I don't think so. I need to check into it because it was supposed to be that much if we showed up in court. But COVID hit in 2020, so I don't know how the pricing works now when you're on Zoom trial. I have no clue what it would cost, but it wouldn't be worth more than $10. I wouldn't pay $10 to watch this if I had it on a theater because it was nothing but a horror show. It was horrible, horrible, all bad acting and everything. And I didn't even get to speak. And it was over after 9 months of them trashing me. So when said,
that's a whole lot of money for a very low quality product.
Yeah.
I think we've got some fraud there.
Oh, for sure. So this needs to be checked into, because there was, the judge not only picked the witnesses, she picked the date, and she did the trial. I thought you can't do all three. I thought you had to have a different judge to do all that. But all of
Could
a
it
sudden, I got a
be,
judge doing everything where I couldn't get them to do it 18 years ago. I got a
could it
new
be,
one every time I went to court.
could it be possible that possibly, just possibly, this whole thing is fake and not a real court at all? Just
Mm-hmm.
possibly.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. My son suffered a psychotic episode on Zoom trial. I had to text my lawyer and say, tell the judge to stop his lawyer from badgering my kids. He was 34 years old in a Navy uniform. So I'm thinking, is this going to be made into a movie, or what's going on? I didn't get to speak. They even shut the camera off on me. I got to see them, but they couldn't see me. It just didn't make sense. It was horrible.
It's a sham and a scam.
Yeah. And
And they don't care who they hurt. They do
They
not
don't.
care at all.
They
And
don't.
the ones that do care, I mean, some of these people end up killing themselves because they actually are trying to hold on to a piece of their soul. And
Yes.
after realizing what they played a part in, I mean, they are so guilt-ridden, they can't take it. Most of them leave and go, oh, no. Because family law is like the sewer, except for, I'm sorry to be insulting sewer workers, because they actually do something valuable. But family law is the sewer of the legal world, right? They are the scummiest trash of the trash. And everybody knows it in the legal realm and legal profession.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and what they are is, again, is an unconstitutional fake court scam. A little update too. I just got an update from our friend Patrick J. McPartland. He is out and free. He is the one who taught me about quo warranto. Whereas when you go into a court of law, your first question that should be asked is, what jurisdiction am I in? What gives you authority over this matter and me? Not, oh, hi, judge, I'm really good, they're bad, blah, 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 right? No, like, who are you, really? How did you get on that bench? Why do you wear a robe to work? Can I wear a robe too? Because I now identify as a judge too. You know, it's like, this is all a big scam,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so this guy, Patrick J. McPartland, who appears to most regular people who work jobs a little crazy, is maybe not so crazy. He just went to court today, and he is a free man. The people who are accusing him were too afraid to show up, and he is challenging these courts. And he'd be a good person to have on your show.
Okay.
That would be a real, like, that's red pill time.
Have
Like the
him
stuff
reach out.
Yeah, so let's get that next one scheduled, because this is like super red pill stuff. Like, wow, had I known the stuff I know now after knowing him for about 6 months, 6 years ago, my case would have went extremely differently.
Mm. And that's what
And,
we
you know,
need. This is why we
Yeah.
need stories like this to help people out there. We are overwhelmed. We don't know who to turn to. We don't know who to trust. And the ones we can trust are the alienated parents, because we are the ones that are dealing with it.
Yes, because every time I talk to another targeted parent, a parent who's the victim of alienation, and yes, you know, I have also, like, I am an alienated parent, but I just got a little tiny drop of it. I didn't get what you got, Mary. I mean, I can't even imagine, right? That was my worst nightmare. But all the targeted parents, all the alienated parents, when we get together and we talk, the very first thing that happens is like, it's not just me. Because they will look at you and they'll say, it's your fault. You married the wrong person. You did that bad, blah, blah, blah. And then you start to feel guilty and start blaming yourself and start believing everything they tell you while they're robbing you blind.
Yes.
So the more and more we talk, the more powerful we get, the more organized we're going to get. And we will find a way to dismantle this juice squeezer. Because
Yes.
basically what's left of most people, we are rare. What's left of most people is just a squeezed out, dry, empty orange husk, right? Just
Absolutely.
thrown in the garbage. We have a little juice left in us. They didn't get us completely. The reason I'm sitting here right now, not in jail or dead right now, is because I had a great support system, my family. If I didn't have that, I honestly don't know what would have happened to me. Because
Exactly.
they, again, no crimes, no drugs, no beating, no cheating, no nothing. And going from a great job and a perfect credit score and having no debt besides the God and my parents. And they just literally just unleashed hellfire on me. And it was incessant for 2.5 years. And it's still going on 6 years later. And if I didn't have the support system I have, I would be demolished. I'd be wrecked. And again, I'm a 2nd-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know how to deal with stress and fear. I've been in business in HR. I know how to behave myself, even when I'm upset. I know how to breathe and stop and think and go, okay, if you say that, what's going to happen next? Don't give them any ammunition against you. Breathe. Listen to what they're saying. Oh boy, that does not match, right? And I'm trained to keep myself calm and to do that. I had all of those assets that many people don't have.
Right.
And a lot of those people are in jail or dead now because of what these predators do to people, to the targeted parent especially. But they're not doing the favored parent, the unstable parent. They're not doing them any favors either. They're having this unstable parent sign up to raise kids that they are clearly not able to raise alone.
Yeah.
Take it away, Mr. Coruso. Who would want to raise kids all by themselves, Michael Coruso? Who in their right mind would want to do that?
No one.
No
As
one.
much as you love your kid, you need help, you need a break. So to put that on yourself 24/7, no way.
When my marriage was in the most stable, happy place in the world, I still needed the mother of my kids around. And she still needed the father of her kids to step in and just give her a little break. We're not talking about extreme crazy stuff. We're talking about, my gosh, this baby won't stop crying. She's colicky, right? Who can help me here? Mommy, come take the kid for a little bit because I really need to decompress. And then, mommy, you're not looking good. Give me the baby. I'm fresh, right? This is kind of the way it was designed to be. And the family court's like, no. We can't have two healthy people helping each other out to raise kids. No.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to get Title 4D entitlements? How is the judge going to get their pension? How are we going to squeeze all the money out of your kids' family estates?
Yeah.
If you guys are stable and working together, we can't have this.
Well, that's it. When they told me that they didn't want to uproot my children from them to see me, they weren't children. They were 15, 17, and 18. The judge didn't want to uproot them. And I looked at them. I said, did you even know what life we had? I was married to a soldier. I had to uproot my children every 4 years, move them to a different part of the world, different country here, and you don't want them to uproot to visit me 20 minutes from each other. So this is the kind of stuff these judges don't even know what they're talking about. And, I had to open the door for a father, every 6 to 12 months after coming back from deployment. My children didn't know who he was at the very first day because he was gone for so long. But I introduced the children for 4 days. That's all it took. 4 days for these kids to say, Daddy, 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 yay, the next time he came in, right?
Right.
And they think that reunification doesn't work. No, give the child a week with the parent and those kids will turn around. I know. I did it for 25 years.
This is what family court professionals do. They have a toggle switch, okay? When they're trying to manipulate the targeted parent, they will go with, if it's to the unstable parent's side, they will go and say, "Oh, sorry, targeted parent, we're going to have to stick with the status quo." But then, when what used to be the normal practice, the status quo, is benefiting or bolstering the side of the targeted parent, they'll switch to, sorry, targeted parent, this is going to be the new normal. And they'll just switch it. You're like, wait a minute, you just said status quo is good for the kids.
Yeah.
Now, how come if, let's say I were the parent who read bedtime stories every night to the kids,
Why are we taking that away from the kids? I thought that wouldn't be good to take that away. Oh, no. You're going to have to get used to the new normal. Gotcha. But in terms of where the kids went to church or how they went to school or whatever, status quo, right? Right. But in terms of who read them bedtime stories every night and prayed with them every night, new normal. Got it. It's all a scam. They are scammers, and all they're designed to do is to just drive a wedge in there. If there's a crack between you and your partner, they just drive a wedge in there and just wiggle it and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And while they're making that crack huge, all this cash just somehow magically just falls into their pockets.
Right. Yeah, they knew my ex-husband inherited a lot of money. We are not allowed to go after the inheritance, but the courts are.
Yes.
They will wipe you out, and this is why the ex had to pay $175,000 for a Zoom trial.
This is very interesting, Mary. I want to talk to you about the Zoom trial more later on offline.
Okay.
Who is charging you for this? The courts were?
The family courts, yes. I have all documents. I literally had trial documents, and
Sorry,
it
paid
just
to the
ended.
family court?
Yes. 100. The judge was the one that stated it. $175,000, and we had to pay our own legal fees.
I think, Mary, this is yet another sign that this whole thing is a massive fraud operation, because don't you guys pay a lot of taxes in Canada?
Oh, yes, we
What
do.
in the world would they need to charge you for when that judge is already sitting on that bench getting a salary and pension from the taxpayers?
Yes,
by
it's
your
all
tax.
taxpayers' money. That's just it. That's you know what? This needs to be investigated, and I believe this. I could take this back to court under the 2-year. What do you call it? 2-year time limit.
Yes, like a statute of limitation.
That's it.
So the other part is like this court, was it possibly, because this is what Susan Bossy complains about a lot, is there are these privatized courts that aren't real courts. That, I mean, family court is a sham to begin with, but they have these privatized courts that have a judge that is paid to basically, like a paid actor. It's like, you know, I used to be a judge and now I'm going to pretend to be one because I slept in a Holiday Inn Express last night. And they are being paid to put on this show. And they're like, we're trying to keep your family out of the public courts. I think there's something going on there, Mary, that you were not made completely aware of. I think
That's right.
they did not disclose everything properly to you.
No, I did a couple screen photos, and when I posted it, I had the police at the doors serving me. I was being charged for taking a picture of my children because I didn't believe it was real myself. So, and then next thing I know, it was Halloween day. I went to court on Zoom again, and the Crown threw it out. Why did the Crown throw it out? Because 6 judges would have been exposed in this. So yeah, there's something fishy going on. But they put me through 9 months of hell. I suffered 3 heart attacks. I was so sick. You can't imagine.
And they don't care.
And my children literally told the judge they suffer from depression. They're suicidal. They can't sustain a healthy relationship. Everything we've been saying. These adult children literally said to the judge, this is what's happening to me. The judge did nothing.
Well, again, more proof that the family court does not really care about families.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And we have 3 people here who have been torn almost completely to pieces by these predators.
Yes.
But we're still alive and we're stronger. We're catching on to what they do, and we will find a way to grind their gears to stop their tank treads.
Yes.
And right now, we're just like 3 little Anne Franks hiding in an attic, writing mean little letters about these Nazis that are coming to gobble up everybody's family.
Mm-hmm.
But we will have our day, and they will be in jail, God willing. And I think that's a good place to leave it off because we've got a lot more. We need to schedule
Yes.
another one of these.
We need to schedule another one. Well, thank you so much, Theo and Michael. This has been an interesting conversation here with Let's Talk Real Talk. Unfortunately, we had to let Andy go. He's dealing with family issues right now with a sick wife, so he sent his apologies. But yeah, let's rebook for part 2, and we can get on to a lot more that needs to be exposed.
Very good. Yeah. And I'd like to leave this one last thing. So anyone watching this, if you're interested in legal management services, if you're interested in young Coruso's bill analysis that we can do for you, if you've been a victim of a family court predator, possibly, if you paid more than just a couple of $1,000s for your divorce, let us look at your bills. You can contact us. Michael, you want to give them a good email address to contact us at?
Yes, it's mcaruso, Caruso, at young, Young, Caruso, Caruso.com. So mcaruso.
I'll add it to the comment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Please reach out to us. We will be happy to look at your situation, see if there's anything we can do for you. We'd love to look into it for you.
Thank you so much, Michael and Theo. Thank you so much. Everybody out there listening, thank you for tuning in. Join us next time. We have Joe Goldberg on Thursday at 1 p.m. with Vernon Beck, Court Watch, Canada Court Watch. They're both, Joe is out of the Florida, but he's here in Toronto working for alienated parents, and got these new programs starting. So it will be a good topic to tune into on this Thursday as well. So thank you, everybody. Alienated parents, grandparents, alienated children, please don't give up. And all you professionals out there who know that what we are dealing with needs help, and if you could help us, please reach out to any of us and come join me on Let's Talk Real Talk with Andy Martens and myself, Marielle Kovacs. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.
Thank
Bye,
you very
everyone.
much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.